So I found this blueberry muffin recipe from Dr. Mark Hyman, who, if you've watched any of my videos, I talk about him. I love him. If you follow me on Facebook, I talk about him. I love him. So this is a blueberry muffin recipe. It's supposed to be very low in glycemic count for us. It only makes 6 muffins, and I was going to double it, but I thought this is the first time I'm making it, and since I'm sharing it with you, I didn't want to mess up, so I'm just going to stick to the 6, and if it turns out great, I'll double it. Okay, so here's what we need. We need 1 cup of almond meal. Now, I can't stand almond meal, so I'm going with almond flour. It's almost the same. They're pretty interchangeable. It's the way they're ground. So we're going to go with almond flour on that. So we've got 1 cup of almond flour. So we're going to do the dry, just caveat, we're going to do the dry ingredients first. So you want 1 cup of almond flour. Then you're going to want 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, which I've already put in here. Try to use as many ingredients, organic ingredients, as possible. Sometimes you can't afford it, but try to get as many as you can. Okay. All right, so there's that. And then put that to the side. And then the next dry ingredient we want to put in is 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So we're going to go ahead and add that in. And then we're going to mix that up, and then we'll go to the wet ingredients and mix all that up as well. All right, so let's go ahead and mix all that in. You can see it's all just not very difficult, is it? I'm trying to find different breakfasts, if you will, or stuff to snack on, along with the smoothies that I'm trying out. So different ones that are low glycemic count and are not going to be harmful really for anyone to eat. So this is one of the things I wanted to try and share with you. And this honestly is the very first time I'm doing it. So let's make sure it's all in there. I want to make sure it's mixed up really well. You don't want any white spots or yellowy spots or brown spots all by themselves. You want it all together. What a beautiful color this is. And I'm going to give you another little caveat. Brown is my favorite color. And I got to share my cup with you. It's Dwight. I forgot who got this for me, but I think this cup is hysterical. So I'm going to have a drink of coffee. All right, now we're going to do the wet ingredients. So let's set this aside. And it calls for 4 eggs. And yes, I do use grass-fed organic eggs as well. And then it's going to, well, let's go ahead and crack open the eggs here. Don't want to crack it on top of the eggs. Let's crack it open. There we go. Side note, I don't know if anyone knows this, but calcium, it's loaded in eggshells. So one thing you can do is you can grind up the eggshells into a powder. Make sure that, you know, there's no salmonella in it, that it's been baked, it's been somehow, got a little shell in there. Make sure that there's, you know, it's free of salmonella. So one thing you can do is bake it or cook it in the oven. Anyway, so much calcium is in just one thing of one shell egg. It's just amazing. Okay, so now what we want is we want a tablespoon of honey, and the honey that I use it's this raw honey. It's fabulous. And Dr. Mark Hyman says that there's just going to be a little trace of honey in each of the muffins. So it's not a lot of honey. So let's get that in there. As you can see, it's dripping in there. Not all of it's going to come out, so I did a tad, like I did a little heaping tablespoon of it, so that it's a tablespoon. Okay, so we got that in there. Let's set this aside. Okay, and then you want a teaspoon of vanilla, and I went ahead and just did a teaspoon in the cap. I always put it in the cap, and then we're going to put that in there. So we've got that in there, and now we're going to mix this up. We're going to kind of scramble it together. And really, it's better to use a fork or something like that, but honestly, I just didn't want to dirty up anything else, that's all. Okay, so let's get this all scrambled together. A whisk, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, here we go. And then you're gonna wanna make sure that your oven is at 350. So if you haven't turned that on yet, go ahead and do that now and get that ready. All right, so now you're gonna add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients. Let's go ahead and do that. And sometimes that honey doesn't want to mix in real well, but you've got to keep at it. You don't want just one clump of honey in one of the muffins. Okay, so let's go ahead. That's together in there. So let's go ahead and get this all mixed in together. This is always the fun part, isn't it? Just going back and forth, just getting it all mixed in. If you have any recipes, especially any recipes that are similar to Dr. Mark Hyman's, would you please share them with us? And I don't know who we is, me, I love trying new recipes. And I know I don't have to say this, but make sure that you wash your hands before you conduct any type of food preparation or you're touching food of any kind. All right, so it looks like we've got this mixed in pretty well. So now let's go ahead and pour it into our cups here. And I think what I'm going to do is I might get a little ladle to pour it in with and make that just a little bit easier, or to, you know, transfer it, I should say. But before that you do that, make sure you put the blueberries in. Also, I'm going to try this with raspberries. Oh, so it calls for a cup of blueberries. I might want to answer or let you know that, right? So let's go ahead and get that in there. So there's our blueberries. It called for a cup of frozen blueberries. I don't like frozen food or any type of frozen fruit either. So you could probably use, what I did is organic blueberries right from the grocery store. All right, so now let's go ahead, fill up our cups. And hopefully this turns out good. I haven't had muffins in a really long time since I found out I was diabetic, because, you know, it's just too much sugar, too many carbs, and I really am excited to try this. So again, if you try this, please, please let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and finish filling these up, and I'll put it in the oven, and then I will show you my muffins that come out. Okay, so make sure that when you're baking the muffins that the oven is at 350. You want to put them in from 25 to 30 minutes, depending on your oven. I was able to go 25 minutes, and this is what I have. And I let it cool down a little bit before I showed you, but the bottom is still pretty hot. Aren't they beautiful? I was able to get a 7th one in too. So I'm about to crack one open and try it with my butter. I love Kerrygold unsalted. Is my favorite butter. I just eat it like it's a snack. I don't let anyone else touch it. In fact, when we cook with regular, good, yummy butter, but not my Kerrygold. Okay, if you try it, let me know. So from one grateful diabetic to another, enjoy.